Today we're taking a look at the newest release here from New Holland Distilling Company. This just happens to be their Walleye Run Malted Rye that they're also calling their cigar batch. Have we finally found a cigar batch or blend that won't disappoint? That we're going to tackle here on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Hey, if you're new here, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up, greatly appreciate that. Hit the bell notification so you are alerted to when I'm doing new videos or live streams, things along those lines. Thank you so much for doing that for me. Greatly appreciate it. So let's tackle this. Have we finally found a cigar blend, cigar batch, whether it's a bourbon or rye, that's not going to disappoint us? So what exactly is this newest release here from New Holland Distilling Company that they are calling their cigar batch? So this guy's coming in at 105 proof. It is a 100% malted rye mash bill that is then aged or blended with Amburana, cognac, and sherry. So stick with me on this. I know Amburana is kind of a hot button topic these days for a lot of people, but stick with me on this. The age statement on this is 7 years, and the MSRP on this one was right around $95. So let's jump right into this. I'm excited to kind of share with you what this was when I had a chance to kind of sit down with this thing. So let's dive into the nose. I'll give you a little idea of what you can maybe expect overall, and is this going to be a bottle that's worth kind of seeking out. So here's what I'll say. With a little bit of Amburana that is used in the finishing aspect of this, or barrels, you're never going to get away from that. The big issue with it always is the intensity. Is it just going to dominate every other component that's there? Now with this, I think the uniqueness factor that this has is the fact that this is 100% malted rye. So it's more aggressive. That may take on a little bit more of that Amburana and keep it a little bit more muted. Now this one that's blended or finished also with cognac and sherry, that's going to add a whole other layer to it as well. So as we kind of dive into this thing a little bit more, I'll give you kind of more of my thoughts overall on this one. So right away, you do pick up a little bit of that kind of cinnamon apple pie kind of feel. Yeah, those fresh cinnamon notes with that, again, the Amburana effect that's there. But you do quickly also then layer in this earthy kind of cognac like layer that's there. I think it's working really well to help offset that intense sweetness from the Amburana. You'll see where the kind of sherry will start to show up here in a little bit. But the one thing I do love about it is the fact that this is that 100% malted rye. It's a little bit more aggressive. So like I had said early on, it kind of handles the Amburana aspect a little bit more than maybe some either bourbons or some other, other rye kind of mash bills. Yeah, I think also what you start to get here with that more kind of earthy grapiness from the cognac is the fruit layer of the sherry now kind of working in extremely well. So this is an interesting one from the standpoint of each component kind of having its own kind of thing going on within this whiskey. You got the Amburana that's a little bit upfront, which then you kind of get into that transition of both that earthy grapiness from the cognac and that nice fruit layer that you start to kind of pull in from the sherry. Love the spicy, almost like strawberry jam effect, or Jolly Rancher, something along those lines. There's a denseness to it. There's a thickness. There's a richness that this just smells very, very intense. So it'll really be interesting as we kind of dive into the palate to see where and how all of these layers are going to kind of show up. So cheers. Let's dive into that right now. So here's what I'll say. that really beautiful malted rye, cognac, sherry, Amburana work extremely, extremely well where almost one of them isn't overshadowing the other. Now on the palate, I'll say this, the sherry portion of this, that kind of almost jammy nuttiness, feels like it wants to be more in the forefront, along with that kind of cognac, that earthy grapiness that's there. And the Amburana part of it is almost taking a little bit of a back seat to all of this, including that 100% malted rye. I love how that is really, really holding up amongst everything that's going on. So you've got each component working so far extremely, extremely well together. Yeah, you're not going to get away from the fact that the Amburana is there. So you are going to get that, you know, fresh apple pie, cinnamon, vanilla custard. But again, that works really well with that earthy grapiness, nutty, fruity, sherry kind of component. So in terms of what this has going on, it's all been blended extremely, extremely well to help kind of showcase each flavor individually, all while still working together. So I think in terms of how it's been crafted, blended, put together, whatever you want to refer to it as, they've done an extremely great job from that standpoint. And it feels like finally you've gotten a whiskey that isn't just straight up like, you know, apple pie and nothing else. Like this has other layers in it. So they've done a very, very good job. And I'm sure they were very cognizant of the fact that you can't just have one dominant component, because what's the point of the other layers if the one just kind of takes over everything? So with this, between the 100% malted rye, the Amburana, the cognac, and the sherry, I think it's been blended about as good as you possibly can for one of these cigar blends, cigar batch, call it whatever you want. I think New Holland has done an extremely fantastic job with this release here in 2025. Now, one of the other things I think I'll kind of talk a little bit about is it has a great mouthfeel. I think there's a creaminess that it has that's fantastic. The spice, the oak layer that's there is not lost in the shuffle of all of the finishes. It is there. It's just simply accenting a lot of everything else I've kind of described to make this very like uniformed. As much as you get each component, again, the blend of all of it is working extremely well. Now, I know everyone wants to talk about cigar blends, cigar batches. You know, would this hold up? I think really, really well. And the one part that I enjoy the most, and I think what takes Amburana the best, are ryes. Now, not very often are we getting malted ryes, which again has like a more aggressive kind of rye profile. Or I'll say at least different kind of rye profile than what a lot of us are used to. But it is taking all of these finishes and blended and working extremely well together to make this a much more enjoyable finished rye whiskey. So, I mean, there's not much else I can say, but I'll say this. I think for sub $100 or $100, call it what it is by the time you get taxes and all of that, I think this is one that is worth pulling the trigger on. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic finished rye whiskey that is not going to ultimately just disappoint us knowing that we just have another Amburana finished whiskey. It is not that. There are other layers and complexity, richness that this thing has going on that will help make everything else work extremely well. So with that being said, you know, I'm going to say this. If you can find a bottle of this, I think this is 100% worth trying and seeing how this stacks up against anything else that you may have that's similar. In my opinion, I think they've done about the best job they could have with each one of these finishes and not letting one finish, specifically being the Amburana, take over the entire whiskey. So with that being said, I want to hear from you. Let me know, the Walleye Run from New Holland, just on its own, 100% malted rye, fantastic whiskeys. I think they're a little bit newish to the scene from that standpoint with the Walleye Run stuff, but overall, I think they're doing a fantastic job. Just had a chance not long ago to visit the distillery and do a barrel pick and all of that, and I think they're doing an incredible job. And I think this is just kind of them showcasing how they're able to put a really nice cigar blend, cigar batch together that we're truly going to enjoy. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out that Patreon link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So with that being said, and as always, thank you guys again for tuning in today. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers. We'll see you next time.
Get out the way, I've been feeling myself. I've been trying to keep it all on track. Yeah. I could tell you took your time. I've been thumbing through your ground like that. Bring my energy back. Girl, you're something like the sunlight. Girl, you're something like the sunshine.